Hey guys, Attorney Walter Hnot. I'm going to move this a little bit that way. We're good to go. All right, so here's what you need to know. We're going to be basically going over a topic that I think is really, really incredibly cool. Let me go ahead and lower myself here a little bit. Whoa, there we go. So here's what you need to know. We're going to be going through a topic that involves convicted felons for the most part. I think it's a really cool topic. Maybe you like it, etc. Now, with that said, this is the big 2-hour Thursday night, 8 to 10 p.m. video. As you know, I never get anywhere on time, hence 8:21 p.m. Now, with that said, I'm going to do this intro, and then we're going to basically go into answering questions for people who want to call in to the phone number for me to answer questions related to Social Security disability benefits. Now, with that said, please remember to like, subscribe, and above all, leave 5-star reviews. The link is right in the chat section right over there. Now, with that said, howdy, Deb Carter. I wanted to thank you guys. We are approaching basically 46,000 subscribers. That's bigger than most towns, which is just absolutely incredible. Howdy, Leanne. Especially seeing Deb Carter. Leanne's been with me like back to the Stone Ages when I had like 300 subscribers. So I wanted to make it known. Howdy, Ivy Brown. I just wanted to make it known that Linda, so howdy. I really appreciate all the people who partake in this experience with me. I think some of you really appreciate that I take 2 hours out of my day to help kind of the low income, the homeless, figure out answers to their disability problems. And I really, really appreciate that. And it's just an incredible thing. So basically, we're going to do convicted felons, how that affects your disability benefits, answering questions for anybody that calls in, and then an update on the security of what's going on basically with Ukraine and then kind of internationally. And then we'll kind of go from there. All right. All right. Let's talk about this whole penal institution. What prisoners, what fugitives, what felons could potentially get or not get disability benefits. So first off, these felonies block you from getting disability benefits. Now, before we even go into that, remember, if the jurisdiction does not use felonies, right? That's like our key word here, felonies. It's any crime that is punishable by death or exceeding 1 year. Okay, so that's the baseline. That's what we're looking for here. Okay, so here's the thing. If your disability arose or came into existence or was made worse by committing a felony, right, then you'll be blocked from disability benefits. That's your SSI, SSDI. If your disability arose or came into existence or was made worse while you were in jail, prison, or in a correctional facility for a felony conviction, right, then in that case, bottom line, you're not supposed to be able to get disability benefits. Now, with that particular element, I've seen judges acknowledge it and then just ignore it. Because when you're in prison and you committed some sort of felony, conviction-based related crime, let's call it like it is. The bottom line is this. When you're going to get PTSD while you're in prison based upon people attacking each other and doing horrible things, you're very likely to get injured, maybe a tooth knocked out, a broken rib, your back's misaligned. This is very common as a result. So I don't see a lot of the disability judges really utilizing this methodology. In fact, I'm going to read to you specifically, and this is important, from the SSA.gov ruling so you can understand what their wording is as to why they have that logic. Here we go. The DO, District Office, may not be able to determine that a felony has been committed in all instances. However, the history and the medical evidence will ordinarily reveal the circumstances under which an impairment arose or was aggravated, like how your impairment started, its origin story, or how it was made worse. The Disability Determination Services, DDS, and Administrative Law Judge, ALJ, and the Appeals Council, AAC, must be alert to this and identify any claims not identified by the DO, District Office, where, in the course of reviewing the evidence, there's an indication, here's the important part, there's an indication that an impairment was connected with the commission of a crime or confinement. That's the whole thing they're looking for here. Did your impairments, were they created? Did they get worse? Were they aggravated as a result of you doing this crime? And the problem with it is this too, like a lot of impairments that you have, let's say you commit a felony, right? A lot of impairments that you have could be made worse. You're in the felony, you're running up the steps, you trip, you hit your face, your impairment that you had on your head was made worse because you committed, you know what I mean? Like that, this rule, I get where they're coming from, but I don't think it's really fleshed out enough to understand exactly when it should be applied or not applied. A lot of judges, from what I've noticed, just ignore this rule. for the most part, and they just process the claim as per the normal. When such case is identified, contact the district office for assistance. The district office will then find out whether a felony was committed, the date of the offense, and the status of the criminal case, and will forward a report of contact to the DDS, ALJ, or AC containing this information for determination as to whether any felony-related or confinement-related impairment is involved, right? That's that whole you've been confined for a year or more kind of gig, or it's actually exceeding a year, okay? Now, I just want to point out again, judges are not likely to spend time sending this back and then getting it again. I mean, I've seen it pop up where they do that, but in majority, a lot of them, in practical application, they just process the claim, get it off their docket, and keep rolling. All right, next one. And this one's important. This one's important. And this is where this is all coming together. Next one. So you're not going to get disability benefits or like SSI benefits if you, or in this case, it would be survivor benefits and disabled little child benefits. So if you killed, oh, we're already getting our first calls. So if you killed the parent or spouse that you would have collected benefits from, right? Because you can tie into some Title II benefits, right? So like spousal benefits or, you know, disabled adult child benefits or survivor benefits. If you kill the person that which those benefits are supposed to come from, then obviously you don't collect benefits off of that person. Like if you do a horrific thing, you don't get the, okay, you got it. All right, next thing. And that's from, all right, so now also, if you are a fugitive felon, meaning you escaped from custody, you are fleeing to avoid prosecution or confinement, or you have a flight escape, then no disability benefits. And that's from Martin v. Estrue. That's a big, big claim in our disability field. Now, if you are confined in a penal institution for more than 30 days, then they stop your benefits. Okay, so if convicted in April, and then you are jailed for more than 30 days, then you don't get April's payment, right? That's how they attach to it. Now, the way it really works is they pay that payment, but then basically 2 or 3 months down the line, they're like, hey, we overpaid you, so you've got to go ahead and pay us back for that month that we overpaid you. So let's say you were only in for like 31 days, then basically that month, they're still going to pay it, but then 2 or 3 months down the line, you get hit with an overpayment, in which case submit a 632 to see how well you can do. All right, now another thing that I think is really incredible for you guys to know about this. Some crimes, howdy positively, Cheyenne, some crimes can reduce your disability benefits, like treason, like sabotage, but don't you think of it this way, like money claims where you do bad things, you know, to obtain money. So what they're worried about here, and I'll just read it and then I'll tell you what the logic is, because you obtain the earnings illegally and therefore when you pay taxes on them, you shouldn't be given the extra benefit. What they're saying here is if you received money and paid taxes on it, like you reported it, and you shouldn't have received that money, like you obtained it illegally, right? What they're going after the Russian oligarchs for. That's one of their arguments to basically, it's theft, to steal their mega yachts. If you obtain these things illegally, then they're saying, we are not going to pay you your SSDI benefits at that rate of you earning more because you didn't really legally earn that money in a proper way. So that's the whole thing that they're doing there. They're trying to rebalance the system based upon illegal income. All right, next one. So remember, if you are in jail, this is so important, and it's something that the SSA actually really needs to work on. You can complete a pre-release application procedure or refile once out of jail. Just remember, most of my claimants that come from jail, when I tell them, hey, go sign up for your pre-release application procedure in Florida, so that, you know, basically, I tell obviously most people in Florida that, you know, so you can go ahead and begin the process. And wow, Leanne, wow, thank you for the $20 donation. I will totally buy them $20 worth of treats. They're right now running around behind me. They've had like 20 treats between like the past 2 days. I bought an entire 3-pound chicken at BJ's, and basically, you know, they're like piranhas. They're like chubby little piranhas. All right, so here's the thing. When you are in jail or prison, you're thinking like, and again, Leanne, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it because that's just incredible. When you're in jail, you're thinking that like the jail people or the prison people or the penal institution people, they're going to like know all the programs. Almost every single penal institution that's out there does not know what a pre-release application procedure is with the SSA. They don't have a system set up. They don't know how to do it. When they ask people, their local, commanding, jail personnel, they don't know what to do. So then I end up having to go ahead and send in the sheet, or I send them the application process. They pop out. We just get them going anyways. So that's just something area where the SSA really needs to improve with their understanding and reaching out and doing things with the local penal institution. Also, someone under the SSA code will not be considered a full-time student if confined for a conviction felony. So that's important because there's a lot of benefits that come to full-time students that they lose for Social Security purposes if they're confined for the conviction of a felony. Now, I want to point out something else. This is specifically from the rulings on the SSA.gov website. When a potential prisoner case is identified, but the trial is pending, I'm reading right from it, a determination or decision will be made in the customary manner considering all impairments. The DO will diary the case, and if the claimant is convicted at the trial, the claim will be returned to DDS, ALJ, or AC as appropriate to determine if a felony-related impairment is involved and to consider whether reopening the reversal if necessary. So what they're saying here is, if you haven't been convicted yet, but a conviction is coming up, they reserve the right to basically sit the claim over here, diary it, make a note of it, and if you end up getting convicted, they send notice to the ALJ, the ACs, the DDSs, things like that. Very rarely do I see notations for this stuff. But basically, and a lot of it comes down to a lot of people on both sides of the fence are just trying to process the claim. That's the reality. All right. So with that said, those are the base fundamentals of what you need to know in order to basically have an understanding as to what criminals can get disability benefits. Now, the most important statement out of all of this I've yet to make, which is that if you have a felony and you basically are in a situation where you're not those things, then when you come out, you can usually get disability benefits without issue thereafter. But it is those things that we just talked about where you become banned and you cannot get them. So if you murder the person you were hoping to get disabled adult child benefits from or survivor benefits, you don't get benefits. If you're a fleeing felon, you're not going to get benefits. If your impairment came into existence or became worse as a result of you committing a felony, conviction-related crime, then you're not going to get disability benefits. So now there's little things here and there. Obviously, there's little caveats. We can do that in another video, but I wanted to do kind of a baseline to have you guys understand these basics. I know most of you are not essentially criminals, convicted felons. That's excellent. Good on you. We're going to take phone calls now. I'm going to go ahead and put the phone number over here. I hope all is well with everybody. I've been super stressed because I've had a zillion hearings. I had 3 today. I had a lot this week. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to this person real quick. I see somebody's already called in. If you want to go ahead and call in, that's the phone number right there. Let's see. What about a felony but had grand expungement? That's a different deal where you can get benefits. Okay, so here we go. Here's the call. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. Would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you?
A specific question, please.
Excellent, good sir. What is the question?
Well, I was in law enforcement before being found disabled for 15 years, and I would like to get a concealed carry permit, and part of that process is possibly going out to the range and qualifying with a handgun. And after doing it for so many years, you're usually out there maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes tops, which is about my limit of what I could possibly push through. And so my question is, if I was to file the paperwork and go to qualify at the range, would that trigger a CDR or anything to that effect, or do you think I would be okay to get the concealed carry permit?
So the big thing is there's different levels of being found disabled. When you're found disabled for listing level criteria, if it's for mental, they try and essentially, limit you from owning a firearm. But it sounds like you were found disabled using a different method, like a grid out or potentially vocational allowance, which would then, of course, allow for you to go ahead and obtain a firearm. Otherwise, you're putting a big red flag on yourself. So how were you found disabled? Like, was it a listing? Was it a gridding? What was it?
There was a couple listings. There's an autoimmune disorder for inflammatory arthritis.
Okay, but
and there was a
yeah, what type of finding were you? Like when they found you disabled, did they give you a grid out? Did they give you a vocational allowance? Like what type of finding was it?
I've read the letter a couple times, and I'm not sure. I have about 10 or 12 different diagnoses, but the main one is being AS, and so I'm not exactly sure. I've looked on the letter before, but exactly what they are, it just doesn't state it on my award letter.
Okay, no worries.
But I have bought firearms. I passed the background checks and everything.
So if you pass the tobacco, so if you pass that background check, then you should be okay because they notify ATF. Bottom line is this: you are unlikely to go ahead and trigger a CDR by basically getting the license to conceal carry. Now, if you shoot videos and post them online on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, of you having a great time, smiling and shooting videos of it and all that stuff, that could trigger essentially a CDR or essentially a special group to come and investigate you to see if you're truly disabled, which you claim you are. So if you don't mind, what are your top 5 most severe disabling conditions?
My main one is the ankylosing spondylitis that affects my spine and my hips. Mm-hmm. So I'm very limited in the amount I can walk, stand up, sit. So I know that if there was a class that I would have to take, I couldn't do that. There's just no way I could physically get through it. But from my understanding, with talking with the sheriff and local authorities, his people, due to the fact that I've already got 15 years of certification, I wouldn't have to do a class, but I may have to do a qualification. So I figured if I could bring out my cane and or my wheelchair with me, I know I could get through it to get my concealed carry, but I just didn't know if they might look at it as, well, if you're able to obtain this, because most people, your standard civilian will have to go through a class. If they saw, well, if you're able to go through a class and do qualifications, you're able to work, which that wouldn't be the case, because if there was a class, there's just no way I could get through it.
So, yeah, I mean, you're arguing accommodations and assistive devices, ambulatory devices in this case. I agree. I think those are really good. When you go take the class, maybe they could note it in there. I don't know what the concealed carry license restrictions. Well, I mean, now that the Supreme Court has come out, there's very few restrictions to obtain that, which in my opinion is very good, especially for the disabled and retired who can't run away. I don't think it's going to trigger that. I think if you made a bunch of fun videos with the intention of showing how, maybe you can do certain things, like, you're running up to a target, or maybe you're kneeling and then standing up and then kneeling and then standing up. I think those sort of things would trigger it. But remember, it would take somebody kind of reporting it, because the SSA does not have unlimited resources when it comes to trying to find you and investigate you. So I don't foresee that ever being an issue, and involving accommodations with it sounds fine. Letting the person that's doing the actual notation or the signing of your certification for it, where they can know you as the person having that, I think that would be a good thing. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be an issue, to be honest with you.
Great. I just wanted to ask, because I know when I had to see the judge, they asked me, do you have your driver's license, and when was the last time you renewed it? And so I just didn't know if the concealed carry would pop up and cause an issue. So I appreciate you taking the time to answer that.
Excellent. Well, have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll catch you a bit later.
Okay. Thank you, Walter.
Thank you, good sir. Bye-bye. Okay, what we're gonna? Oh no, I don't. I hung up on it. Hold on, guys. We're gonna get it back. We're gonna get it back. I'm not sure. The phone went into like its little private notice thingy. Whatever. Give me 1 second. We'll get the next viewer. Also, Baklava. Thank you so much for the $5 donation. I really appreciate that. All right. I don't know if this was the person who's calling in. We're gonna answer it anyways. Here we go. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube. Please remember to use a fake name throughout this process. Would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you? Go ahead.
Hi, Attorney Walter Hnot. I just wanted to ask a couple questions. I've been trying to look it up online for quite a while now, and I can never get any answers to it. I'm on SSDI, and I'm getting close to retirement age. And I was wondering, once I hit retirement age, will I switch over to retirement, or will I still stay on SSI, and will I be subject to the SSI rules, or will I be subject to the retirement rules at that point?
So it's actually a complex question. That's why there's not a lot of postings online about it. The way it works is this. Do you have 40 quarters of coverage?
Excuse me?
Do you have 40 quarters of coverage? Have you collected 40 quarters of coverage throughout the years?
No.
Okay, so if you don't have 40 quarters of coverage, then you're going to stay on SSI benefits. Only those who have 40 quarters of coverage go on to retirement at 62. And if their retirement is less than the current SSI amount, then they do a hybrid allowance of SSI and retirement benefits. So kind of the bottom line is this. If you don't have 40 quarters of coverage, you're going to smooth sail and continue to sail with SSI into basically the old age area. You still have all the requirements and restrictions and stuff like that for the most part. But yeah, you'll stay on SSI.
Will I be still getting the CDRs? Is that what they're called?
So here's the thing. Back during the Obama era, things became a little bit tighter. They were doing more CDRs. Trump era, a heck of a lot more CDRs. CDRs are not in decline from what I'm seeing. But every couple of years, it seems like they're attacking older and older individuals. But when you reach that old age, it's not really going to be a CDR for, disability benefits and the standard kind. They mostly stay away from you. You got to understand, after 60 years old, they don't look to whether or not you could do other jobs in the national economy than you actually did when you were, within the past 15 years of your work. They look at solely, essentially, those jobs that you did within the past 15 years. So you have to understand, like, if somebody is, older or whatever, significantly, and they haven't worked in 15 years and they're over 60, then the question then becomes, well, if they can't do their past work and there's no available past work, then element 5 is met of the 5-step sequential process. So the logical or the theoretical idea behind it is that you can't teach old dogs new tricks. And as a result of that, what happens is, just to make it, simple, they don't think you could work after a certain age. Now, if you talk to the financial advisors in New York City, they're going to be like, man, we want people to work to 110. But the reality is, obviously, people's bodies, especially those who are in construction, electrician, roofing, their bodies just shut down. They can't produce labor or work product at the right speed. Although, once again, I just want to point out, those people who are New York financial advisors, don't understand that because they've never done an honest day's work usually in their life. So as a result of that, you have people that are listening to them at the very top because they have money, and people with money seem to get more attention, obviously, than me. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, no, there's not going to be a lot of CDRs for you. There might be one when you're 62. But it's very, very rare. I doubt that they'd be carrying at 65 or above. I mean, you might get one, but honestly, it's extremely rare. And the standard by which, remember too, when were you found disabled? What year were you found disabled?
I believe it was like in 2006 or so. I think I got like my first checks just before 2007.
Yeah, man. So you're adjudicated at the 2006 rule. So whatever the rules were in 2006, that's what they have to look through to see if you're still disabled under those rules. And back in 2006, it was mighty easy to be found disabled. 2017, everything got a lot worse. So bottom line, I mean, you're going to be fine. You're just going to keep rolling the SSI. train all the way through until you pass away. Hopefully, very, very long time from now.
That's not what I was hoping to hear, because with all the restrictions they have on you, I was hoping that when I got the retirement age, that I wouldn't be under their thumb so much like that. I have a house, and I'd like to move eventually, and I don't know how that's going to work out. That's another question I guess I have for you, if you have time to answer it.
So basically, what you can do, and the question is, how do I get in retirement even though I don't have enough quarters of coverage? What you can do is get some earnings on the record. Now, how many quarters of coverage do you have at this point?
To be honest with you, I really don't know much about that stuff. I think when I get my retirement, the last time I remember getting a paperwork from them, I was going to get like $250 or $300, somewhere in that range from them when I retired.
Okay. So kind of the bottom line is this. I would call the local field office, ask them how many quarters of coverage you have. You might be able to see it on the My Social Security website. And from that point, figure out how many more you need. Now, if you want to add more to get to 40, let's say you got 36 and you need 4 more, then you just have to show, could be self-employment work where you're earning some money, could be working for somebody else, but you take the current SGA amount, which is $1,350. You got to earn 4 of those, 4 of the $1,350 quarters of coverage. You get 4 of those puppies, then basically you can boost it up to 40 quarters of coverage. And then when you hit that 62 years old, you'll transition into retirement.
And then I would be off the SSI, you're saying, or?
Maybe. See, here's the thing. Let's say that your retirement benefits are only going to pay you $500 a month or 400, whatever, 400, 300, whatever. It's a 300, 400, 500, somewhere around there. They then use SSI to supplement that. So for essentially your, let's say it's $400 a month of retirement, those benefits aren't affected by those, income restriction, limitation, blah, blah, blah rules. But the additional 400 and whatever dollars that they put on top of it with SSI, those benefits would be affected by the SSI rules. So half the benefits wouldn't, half the benefits would, because 400 retirement, 400 and change to SSI. The SSI benefits would be under those restrictions, but not the whole thing, not your 400 in retirement.
Well, how would I differentiate the two? In other words, like if for instance, like if you got 2,000 limit in the bank, if I'm getting say 250 or 300 for my retirement, and the rest is the SSI. I mean, how do the rules change? In other words, or don't they change?
So they're going to tell you. They'll send out letters specifically for how much retirement they're sending you, and then also for how much SSI they're sending you. So you're going to know right off the bat per month, I'm getting this much SSI, this much retirement. Yeah.
Okay. But I'd still be under the SSI rules, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to run away from them unless you're getting at least like $900 retirement. Otherwise, you're going to have some money coming from SSI. Otherwise, if you just got retirement, you can get SSI. You know what I mean? There's another side of this too. You could work the Ticket to Work program. You could use your 9-month trial work period, your extended eligibility period for 36 months. There's programs out there that you can use to kind of, get the income coming in, pay the taxes on it, and get enough quarters of coverage. Like they've set it up so that you can make it happen, Yeah.
Yeah. Could you give me some advice on the house? Like I was saying, I'd eventually like to move. I was in Florida before I came here, and once my mother passes away, I'd like to, go back to Florida. But I have a house here, and I don't know exactly how to sell the house. If I could sell the house, I mean, that's going to bring in money. So I'm sure they're going to try to get you somehow.
So with SSI, and I have to look at it because I think for houses there might be a provision to allow for something like that. But the bottom line is you're not supposed to have $2,000 in the bank. And what you're talking about is selling and then putting it into another house, a quick conversion kind of detail. There's also a tax provision that helps you save on that whole situation. But the thing is this, even if you were to get hit and you're just swapping it over during a single month, then that's okay because you're allowed to have, and I'm pretty sure there's an SSI allowance provision for this, but you're allowed to have basically one house. So, the bottom line is, even if it doesn't apply to your, particular situation, what happens is when you sell the house and convert it into the other house, bottom line is you're allowed to have that other house. So even if you get hit for 1 month or whatever, you're still okay to keep going forward. So you might lose for 1 month, but you'll still. But I'm pretty sure there's a caveat in there for selling a house and then buying a different house for SSI people. So yeah.
Okay, so I wouldn't lose the SSI if I did sell the house, is what you're saying. I wouldn't lose the SSI. They would just like stop for a month, and then
yeah, I don't.
A bunch of hoops to prove that
so
the house is sold and all sorts of things.
So I don't remember if there's a caveat provision that allows you to keep it during the transition. The way it would work if there was no caveat is you would lose that for each month that you had the funds in your bank account where you're over $2,000, you would not receive benefits. But if you sold it and then put it into the new house all within the same month, there might be a provision to give you the allowance there. But the bottom line is, even if you got hit for 1 month, it would only be 1 month where you would lose the benefits.
Okay, but I wouldn't have to like go through my benefits all over again to get them again if they shut them down, is what I'm saying, right?
No, minor violations of the SGA rule or the income rule or the storing of funds rule, the $2,000 limit in your bank account. 1 month here, 2 months there. It's not they're not going to remove your benefits. They're going to hit you for an overpayment maybe if they pay you, or they're not going to pay you for that month, but they're not going to remove your benefits in total. Yeah.
Okay, great. That's something I was worried about there.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you so much. You've been very helpful. I watch your shows all the time here. It's a great job you're doing there for us people, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
That was great that I got in the first time I called you, so that was nice.
Perfect. Well, sounds good, sir. I will catch you a little bit later, and have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Oh, well, thank you so much, sir, and you too, and I'll give you a good review.
Thank you, good sir. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, guys, that's a really good question, and there's not a lot of write-up on it online, which I'm really happy he asked that, because a lot of people don't know how this whole SSI into retirement thing works. And what's crucial to understand is you got to have your 40 quarters of coverage to get the retirement. And even when you get your retirement, it might not be enough. You might have to get some supplemental security income, to go ahead and raise that up to $800-900 around that area. Okay. All right. Now, with that said, I did miss a call somewhere in there from a person. I think it's this one. Let me go ahead and try and call it real quick. We'll get them on the phone. We'll go from there. It is connecting. You guys know how this works. Rings. We pick it up and we roll through it. Also, please remember, very important. Here's the phone. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube. Please remember to use a fake name. Would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you?
Okay, I wanted to find out. Okay, my husband was he got hurt real bad at work. He had surgery. They had to take and get the surgery back because they had to take the hardware back out because he was in so much pain. And he just got denied today, actually. And he's got a spinal cord injury or something's wrong with his neck. And it's swelling, and they told me eventually he's going to be paralyzed.
Yeah.
But he got denied. And I'm like, this can't be right. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I got my Social Security because I broke my neck in 2000, and I went through that just for 20-some years, whatever. Anyway, I got my Social Security, which is SSI, but he was trying to get his SSDI. Mm-hmm. Now, if he does get his SSDI, how much would the both of us be able to get together?
Oh, so you're on SSI, he's on SSDI, right?
He's trying to get SSDI.
Okay. So it's not like, and he's not going to be working after that point. So the bottom line is, he is essentially, you're going to receive your full 841 because he won't have too much. When they do the deeming, the spousal deeming, he won't be making too much. So you'll get your 841, he'll get his SSDI amount, and basically you'll just continue. The reason he likely got denied is because initial filing and reconsideration level, they are denying people left and right. And honestly, if you go to a disability hearing thereafter without a disability attorney, good luck to you. I'm hearing more horror stories left and right.
He has an attorney. He's got an attorney, but they don't understand, because I don't even understand it, because everybody around us, they all know how bad my husband is.
Yeah,
And
but remember,
oh,
it's not a this is not like a, it's not getting more. All right, so first off, you got to remember, they don't know the sentiment involved with how you guys have invested into knowing he's disabled. They also only see the medical records as to what his impairments are, and they might not even have the most up-to-date records in their system.
they don't.
They might not even have the right facilities in their system. Yeah, so
He actually can't even see. His eyes are so bad he can't even see, to the point that I have to find stuff for him. And he's fixing to have surgery on one eye on Monday and another surgery on the other on Wednesday, because he can't see.
so if he's
And
truly a
they're
blind,
going to have surgery there on.
yeah, if he's truly a blind individual, then you can take him to any eyesight place, them to give a diagnostic impression that he's, only able to. And just so you guys know, what the standard is, if you can only see the big E at the top, that's pretty much the standard for essentially being found disabled. And remember, it's got to be both eyes are that bad or worse.
What I don't get is the doctors told him, from what I understand, the doctors told Social Security that eventually my husband's going to be paralyzed because of his neck. The fluid is not going around the spinal cord; it's going into the spinal cord, and it's swelling. And by the time it gets down to his where he had the surgery done on his lower back from the work where he got hurt, he will be paralyzed. He won't be able to walk.
So this is a good opportunity. Oh yeah,
his
go
hands
ahead.
are numb. He can't feel cold or hot or nothing.
So this is a good opportunity, and there's a weighing balancing thing here of when to use an RFC letter. A lot of disability attorneys will just tell you you should automatically go get an RFC letter completed by the doctor. That's not accurate, and here's why. RFC letters, once they're completed, they have to go into the SSA. So if you have a doctor that kind of supports you but not really, giving them an RFC letter and they fill out that the person is, capable of doing certain things, you've just killed off their shot with that piece of evidence, unless there's other better evidence that's worth more weight, that you've just killed off the shot of getting basically a vocational allowance. So in this case, because the doctor supports him, because he's got the issues and they're only going to go downhill, I would go to the doctor with an RFC letter and go ahead and get them to complete that, medical statement, and then get that over to the SSA.
Okay. Well, I'd love for you to talk to my husband, but he's in there resting right now. Okay. I appreciate your help. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. You have a wonderful, wonderful night.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, guys, so it's officially 9 o'clock. I told my buddy to, all right, now let me see if I missed any here. I don't think I missed any. I think I got them all. I think we got all the phone calls that came in. So I'm going to take like one, maybe two more phone calls if anybody else wants to call in. If not, that's totally fine too. That is the phone number. Also, if you are new to this channel, howdy. We are the most viewed disability attorney law firm channel in, I think, America at this point, certainly on YouTube. Anyways, here we go. Let's go ahead. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot, Disability Resolution PA. We are live on YouTube. Would you like me to go ahead and answer a specific question, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you?
I have a question.
Sure.
I have a question. I'm visually, I was diagnosed by the doctor like visually impaired a year ago, which I got approved by the SSA. And I'm 45 years old. I would like to work, but at the same time, I'm afraid they say that I can still work, and it was not easy to get approved.
Okay.
And my question is like, if I start working, like, can they do like disability, continuous disability check, or, it's kind of, I'm not sure. And then back, it's just I don't want any problems. That's my question. My question is like, if I start working, do
you think they probably will do like a CDR that you guys call it?
So you've already received disability benefits, correct? Or you're still applying?
No, I'm already approved.
Okay.
I'm already receiving it for 1 year.
Okay. So basically, it is usually wise if you're receiving disability benefits to, basically, you can start your trial work period. That's where you get to receive your disability benefits and the money that, essentially, you get from whatever your job is. You can do an extended eligibility period for 36 months. You get to keep your disability benefits if you earn if you earn under the SGA amount, $1,350. So if you earn less than $1,350, you get to keep your benefits and that money. There's also the trial work period option, which is the safest, but I mean, they're definitely in your back pocket checking on you. That's where you sign a contract for 5 years with the Social Security Administration. They won't do a CDR on you, obviously, during that contractual period. So yes, a job could trigger a CDR. The main things that trigger CDRs, illegal conduct, Facebook, Twitter videos, those are big right now. Graduating from school, automatic CDR.
And the thing is like I said, I mean, right now there might be a place that I probably can get a job because I'm visually impaired. Like in one eye, I don't see very much nothing. In one eye, I'm 2200, and I mean, I got approved, like I said, but I'm very kind of scared that if I get a job, they wanna say, well, because some people tell me, well, you can just get a part-time.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, if they see that I get a part-time, they're gonna say, well, I can get a full-time.
Well, I mean, the question then becomes: are you more likely? Oh, the delays. Are you more likely to go ahead and get? Oh God! Somebody might be outside. But it doesn't matter. Hey guys, come here. So what it comes down to is, will a part-time job or a full-time job go ahead and render a CDR? That's what this kind of comes down to. And I don't know what's going on with them. That's another problem too, guys. If you guys don't know this, but now that I have like an audience or whatever, there's weird stuff that happens. Like I get weird calls. There's people parked outside the property. Guys, come here.
No,
Come
I
here.
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, so stuff happens like that. But let me grab Shadow. All right, so the bottom line is this: any one of these features has the potential of causing a CDR. But remember, if your impairment is one where you have musculoskeletal limitations, and your job is to go ahead and basically help people with rock climbing, that's going to cause a CDR. If your job is like, hey, you're doing a seated data entry job, then that's less likely to create a CDR situation. But you always have to notify them when you start a job, because otherwise they're going to be cranky about it, and they're probably going to try and do an overpayment.
No, that's okay, because like I said, I still can see. It's not like I'm running into the wall or anything. 2200, I can do. I mean, things still, but I got. I was working in the same place for like 22 years, and
sure.
If it was like I knew my job with my eyes closed, basically, but things change. I got worse. I went from 2060 to 20. What is like 20? It suddenly went from 2060 to 2100, and the doctor said, "Well, it's like it's up to you, but if you want to work or not." But then I got laid off because of COVID, and then I just said, "Forget it. I'm not gonna be fighting it."
No, I hear you. I can barely hear you though, but I do hear you when it comes to that situation. But go learn about trial work periods. Go learn about extended eligibility programs and the ticket to work program. Those are going to be your main options when it comes to working and being within the good of the SSA. But yeah, indeed, good sir.
Okay, well, thank you very, very much.
Thank you. You as well. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, we have time for like one more phone call. I'm going to go ahead and put the phone number up there real quick. See if somebody calls in. Oh, we missed a couple. We did miss a couple. Let me go ahead and I'm just going to click this one because this one called in then. Here we go. You guys know how this works. Rings, and then if it picks up, awesome. I don't know what got the doggy so upset there, but you know, just crazy stuff. Here we go. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube. Please remember to use a fake name throughout this process. Also, would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you? Go ahead.
I have a specific question.
Perfect.
Well, actually, I have several, but I apply for disability. So it's a long story, but anyway, I was found disabled in December 19th.
Okay.
I owned a little piece of property worth, on the tax records, worth as of 2021. The tax amount on it was $3,037 is what they said it was worth. And I am remarried anyway, because I'm married, I'm allowed $3,000 in assets. So I was $37 over. So they denied me. Too rich for SSI. Anyway, I sold the property per your advice last August, and I'm in a applied for Social Security again, thinking that they would just pick up where it left off, but no, they put me through the ringer. I just have.
So I could barely hear you. Just make sure. If you talk straight into the phone, it'll be a little bit better. Yeah.
Can you hear me better now?
It's still a little bit rough. Let me put my phone all the way up. Am I in speaker? No, it's all the way up on this end. If you could.
I know my speaker's been doing the same thing as well.
Oh, gotcha. That's a little bit better. Yeah, that's so. Just to recycle. There's a property, you own it, it's worth a little bit over $3,000. You're wondering what happens with SSI. What is, walk me through the legal question.
Well, no, I sold it and I reapplied for disability, and I went to their doctors, and I had to go see their doctors. It was for mental evaluation. And anyway, I just got the letter back that they denied me.
Okay.
So, would you be able to pick the case up in that instance?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, call me during the regular 9 to 5 hours. We can go through the claim details. Some of the main things that I'm going to need to know when we talk is basically, what are your top 5 most severe disabling conditions? What is your current age? Highest level of education completed? What's the last job that you worked? And when did you stop working there? What was the reason for not working there? Are you taking any medications? Do you have side effects as a result of them? What types of doctors are you currently seeing? And then specifically any penal issues, which are like, jail, prison, drug related. Yeah.
No.
Good. Yeah, call me during the 9 to 5. And then basically I can always check on the claim, see if I can kind of work on it to get it approved. And then we'll kind of go from there. But yeah, no, I mean, you're allowed to, for most purposes of SSI, especially SSDI, you can. But for SSI, you're allowed to have one place, where you live, like one home. So we can go through all that then. But yeah, no worries. Just give me a call tomorrow.
Okay, then I have another question.
Sure.
I talked to you before. It's about my stepmom. My dad passed at 18.
Okay.
And I've been trying. Remember, she was the one. I know you talked to so many. There's no way you're going to remember. But anyway, my dad passed at 18. They worked together. They were common law. They were together for 27 years when common law was real. They canceled common law October of 91. They were still together at that point, but they'd been together since 76 to like 90. Actually, I think they were together until 2002, I think. But anyway, she tried to get on his work record, and because her Social Security was so low, she was only getting like $580 or something like that a month. Anyway, I found tax papers for her, and she's got a hearing coming up. Well, not a hearing. They're calling her for the application July 19th, I think, or 17th, somewhere around there. Anyway, they're saying that she applied for this back in September. I talked to you last year about this time, and we finally got everything in and all that. But she applied back in September of 21. Anyway, they're saying they're only going to pay her from the
that time she puts the application in, which they're not even calling until the middle of this month, to even do the application again, and they're only paying her from that point forward because they said you didn't have enough evidence. Well, she sent a check to the government, which was, all the local little governments that, to keep your lights on and everything, half of them are still down in our area. They're just now starting to get back up, like maybe the last month and a half, 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, she sent the paper and the check to the IRS people, wherever they keep all the tax papers forever. She sent a check to them because they charge $45 a year, and they wanted 10 years difference. They wanted like 81 to 91
Okay.
of the tax papers signed and filed because they never bought a car or a house together, had a loan.
Okay.
Where she had those records. So they wanted the tax papers. Now, she had a landlord that they rented off of for 25 years, write it out, and that wasn't good enough. All the family has said they've been together. We had to write out family papers and such, and everybody said that they were together as husband and wife. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But anyway, they sent her the check that she wrote them back to, or she take it back. It was December when she mailed it out. She mailed it out in December for that. It took a little while to get there. But anyway, she sent it out in December. They sent the check back in May, telling her to refill out the paperwork and redo it all. And they're telling her that they're just going to pay her from here on, and he's been gone since 18.
Okay, so just to you lost me, but just to kind of circle back on it, you have a family member who is married, common law in a state that recognizes it. They were married that way before it and after it. The state has not recognized or given you any documentation recognizing it, even though the states define if somebody is married or not the federal government. So you went to submit to the federal government versions of proof of tax filings, neighbors, statements, all that stuff. The federal government was being naughty and not basically taking that information seriously. In my opinion, what you should be doing is essentially reaching out to the regional field office to go ahead and request that they review the actions of the local field office. And here's why. I have personally dealt with probably about 300 situations where they did not want to approve a claim that had to do with a marriage situation. And in many of those situations, I had to go to a higher up group to have them go ahead and process and approve it because the local field office was withholding benefits when they shouldn't have. So my recommendation is go to the regional field office, make a complaint, and request that they go ahead and review the actions of the evidence submitted. But if they're making her reapply, it sounds like a lot of fishy stuff there. Maybe send me an email with the documents that she's received or what's going on, and then call me next Thursday, and then we can kind of go through those documents and figure out a better solution for her. But the first thing, call the regional field office and request that they basically do a marital status review for her claim. That way they can reach out and hopefully render a proper decision, because the local field offices, from what I've experienced, have almost always gotten the marital situation wrong. And that's because they have this ego identity of like, somebody's trying to get too much money from my trust fund. They get like the Popeye eye where they're like, my trust fund, that stuff. And they go into this like crazed, like situation. So, but no, it's the marriage situation is defined by the state, although they do have rules and regulations for how they should look at it, how they should do an analysis on it at the federal level. But ultimately, it's defined by the state. So to bolster getting the state to issue some sort of statement on them would be helpful as well.
So would she actually, because when I spoke to you earlier, you said that she would be entitled from when he passed his benefits, correct?
But remember, if she doesn't ever apply for it, then she doesn't get to.
She tried. When this all started, I said, why aren't you getting more money? She was only getting $550. She wasn't even getting the $840 what it is now. I mean, she's been getting $550 ever since she retired, and it's been about 15 years ago when she retired. Maybe not quite that long, but anyway, she's only getting I think it's $580. I think as what she's getting now, and for her SS, what is it, SS, the retirement part, whatever that is. She gets that, but
RSDI,
she was
yeah.
homeless for a little bit, and she didn't even get up to the state the minimum, the 841 or whatever it is now. She wasn't even getting that. They wouldn't give her that because she was homeless. Wouldn't give her more money so she could get off, basically off the streets, which she wasn't really off the streets. She was living with a friend, but nonetheless, she was still homeless. You know what I'm saying? She wasn't on a lease, didn't have her own place. And they wouldn't even give her that. And then when we first called in, I had her sitting right beside of me.
Mm-hmm.
I called in. I let her talk on speakerphone. And then I listened, and they told her, she says, I need more money. And they said, there's nothing we can do for you. And she goes, well, what about my husband, my ex-boyfriend? We were common law. And they said, prove it. It's totally up to you to prove it. That's what they told her. And if you don't have the documentations, we can't help you.
Okay. Well, I mean, basically what you're telling me is you had somebody that gave you some bad information. Now you need to go up the ladder.
Right. Well, when we called them, they told her we can't help you. And then I spoke up, and then they were like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now we can help you. Well, that's crap. She called them when my dad passed, because I called her. I said, Dad passed. I said, apply for his benefits, because she's only entitled to his amount after he passed, correct?
Well, no, I mean, it depends. It depends on when she applies, when she's eligible. Like, I don't have any of that info. Like, send me the letters that she has, and then we can do another call on this and kind of go through the details of it. Yeah, because if I got to see the letters to know exactly when, what, where, and all that stuff. Because right now, the dates are a little bit, you know what I mean? And she's got to have proof of the marriage at the state level. But send me an email, the forms. We'll go over them, no issue, and we'll go from there. Yeah.
All right. I appreciate all your help, Walter. You have a great day.
You as well. Have a wonderful night.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, guys. So what I'm going to do now is call. And we do have some other people that called in. The bottom line, though, is that it is 9:20, and that's the time that I wanted to go ahead and check in specifically on the situation of what is going on over in Ukraine right now. Let's go ahead and check that out. I'm going to pop over here, and here we go, guys. I'm going to get the gentleman on the phone. We'll begin the process real quick, and then we should be good to go. Let me put it on speaker real quick, and now it's on speaker, and you guys know how this works. It rings, and we're hopefully going to get the security expert on the phone. Howdy, good sir.
Carter, finally sat jump. 7 seconds, please. Lemore 2, gust in the wind. Description level 4, 3, 2, 1. Carter. Clock, thanks to all. Great job. Good evening, Walter. CJ Lewis here with you.
Perfect.
Our crew is once again pleased we can join you and share our interesting and diverse news that may affect all listening, but may not be broadcast or spoken about for various reasons in those countries. But I will say our clients from around the globe also receive information for validity and applicability for their organizational and personal safety needs, both at their homes and as travel dictates in other locations. How are you? How are you doing?
Very good, very good.
I see you look clear of poison ivy.
I do. I don't have any on my wrists, none on my face, none on my ears, no accidental, parts of the body, none of that anymore. I finally cleared myself of the horrible, for me, poison ivy was worse than COVID. I don't know if people realize, but if you go to a farm and there's poison ivy everywhere, you could potentially be bad off. And I was bubbling everywhere and I was miserable. But tell me about Ukraine. I don't get to hear that much on the news about it. What's going on there?
Okay, so we've got quite a bit taking place just in the last 24 hours, but we're going to back it up a little bit. We're 133 days into the war. Battle of Donbass started for the Donbass region on April 18th, 80 days ago. We're very familiar. We hear Donetsk and Luhansk, the provinces, and we are considering the battle to be part of the second strategic phase of the invasion. First being the attempt by the Russians and the unprovoked attack to take over the capital of Kyiv. What we see here is the aim is to battle and encircle Ukraine troops in the Donbass region to annex both Donetsk and Luhansk back to the Russian-backed separatist states. They've created the GPR, the Donetsk People's Republic, and the LPR, Luhansk People's Republic, and the initial development and strategic importance of the Battle of the Donbass. And this is for you, because we did a deep dive for this.
Good.
You always want to know what model it followed, what strategic battle or model it followed. This goes back to the Battle of Kursk, Kursk, of 1943.
Oh, wow.
So we did a little homework just to because previously you had asked us what that model might be. So the good historians took a look back and input into our AI some of the comparative models. When we go back to July 3rd, just a few days ago, the Russians claimed to control all of the Luhansk region. The LPR and DPR had captured the cities previously of Mariupol and Severodonetsk and many more that we've talked about before. But when we get up to July 4th, the Ukrainians claim to have repelled the Russian advances back in Belorashka near the power plant, which we talked about previously. And we have 100% validity in some of the video of some of the ammunition depots in the Donetsk region controlled by Russia, because they've already pushed into that area. The apparent attack in the depot using U.S. supplied M142, the HIMARS we talked about, the mobile artillery platforms that can fire container 6 very precise missiles and their versatility. So we see these ammunition depots that were on Ukraine soil but controlled by the Russians with 100% validity. We see these going up on July 4th. I guess we could call them fireworks, but I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody. Tell me that bark is at your side and not over here.
No, it's a chubby dog bark. It's this side.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. I thought maybe we had something on the satellite that we didn't know about. July 5th, we start having problems in the Donbass region again. The governor of the Donetsk region, Pavel Krablenko, urged all 350,000 people to evacuate the province to try and save lives of the residents as the battle continues. The nearest Russian positions are only 7 to 10 kilometers from the city, and he's urging folks to leave. I think last week we may have talked about a number of people who, and I think I got the numbers backwards, and I take responsibility for it. We anticipated approximately 5 million refugees leaving Ukraine, and I thought I misread the number last week in review. Right now, it's about 4.8 have left Ukraine, but as far as the number of Ukrainians who have been displaced from their homes, the number is 7.1 million.
Wow!
So I think I indicated it was over 5 million, which was our original number before this campaign. But it's a massive number. It really is. And the refugees and the caretaking, even for those displaced, just food, water, shelter, clothing, protection from the elements, just not including rocket fire and everything else that's taking place. Just a massive number of people. Ukraine's continual campaign of targeting the Russian ammunition depots where they can, and the logistics in Donetsk province with airstrikes, again using these HIMARS and M270 rocket artillery systems. The Ukrainian presidential advisor, Olensky Arakchenkov, and that the continued attacks on Russian ammunition depots and increased Ukraine artillery supplies from NATO are what's forcing the Russians to conserve their artillery shells and rockets for the first time. And I think we talked a little bit last week about the use of older rockets, less precise, but causing greater civilian deaths, aiming for the factory, the building, hitting an apartment building, and the civilian deaths that would be accompanied by that. Very, very frustrating, as it appears Russia is using their older rocket systems. President Zelensky in his nightly public address did hail the impact of Western supplied artillery pieces. They were having effects on Russia and logistics, and I think that was a call out to everybody who has participated, not necessarily the United States, but depends on the translation you use. Luhansk governor, Howdy, denied that the Russians had captured Luhansk, insisting they were suffering heavy losses in the villages, and accusing Russians of using quote-unquote scorched earth tactics. Some settlements have been overrun by each side several times, and he claimed that an attempt by Russian regular and reserve troops to extend a bridgehead on the Donetsk River was stalled by a Ukrainian artillery attack. We move over to where the hotspot is today, which is pro-Russian sources claim the village of Sparin. We have 100% verification that has been taken and captured, and advances were made during renewed ground assault near Donetsk village, and we have confirmed that. Both Russian and Ukraine sources confirm Ukraine forces had recaptured the village of Solodik in a limited counterattack. This just goes back and forth. They're trying to take more and more land. We have the chairman of the Russian state Duma. This is going to be a gentleman by the name of Vodolin. He warned that Russia could demand Alaska back. Back if the U.S. continues to seize Russian resources abroad. This came out late yesterday, and his comments are: decency is not a weakness. We always have something for a response, and let America always remember there's a part of its history. That was Russia. That's Alaska. It became a territorial feud back in the early 1900s. There was a military treaty between Norway and Russia, blocking travel and shipments go through. The chairman, this chairman of the Duma, Vodolin, stressed Russia does not interfere in America's affairs, saying that American politicians have been blaming Russia for everything that is happening in their country. For those that aren't too familiar with the Duma, just real briefly, the State Duma is an abbreviation from Gosduma. It's the lower house of the Federal Assembly, while the upper house, you can separate Congress if you want. The upper house is known as the Federal Council. The Duma headquarters are located in Moscow, and it refers to its members as deputies. The State Duma replaced the Supreme Soviet as a result of the new constitution that Boris Yeltsin put in after the Russian constitutional crisis in '93 over there. It's approved by nationwide referendum. But Russia, back to Alaska, colonized Alaska in the 1700s and sold it to the U.S. in 1867. Wow. So, just a little different. Again, some saber rattling. In recent months, some of the Russian politicians have made a number of statements threatening to rescind treaties and agreements with other countries, And again, saber rattling. But here's where we kind of have to draw the line in the sand. We're going to step away from Alaska, and we need to talk about Germany. And just in the last few hours, Germany may be reversing the Nord Stream 2. We're not taking the gas from Russia position they took earlier. So since the war started February 24th, and again, we're 130 some days in, Germany's kind of been dragging its feet on a proposed European energy embargo against Russia. And Germany did stop the pipeline in construction in the midst of the war. We got that. The pipeline would have doubled the flow of gas to Germany and Europe and been entirely beneficial to the entire continent if this hadn't broken out. Germany's Parliament Committee on Energy and Economy has clearly stated Germany is limiting its decision on sanctioning Russia gas. There are real concerns with the Cold War, the cold winter, not a Cold War. With the cold winter coming, Germany's decision to put an embargo on Russian gas used to heat their homes and run their businesses in manufacturing, and it's either not going to be available at all or overpriced. So with Nord Stream 1, if you're not familiar with it, it's a network of offshore piping that goes from Russia to Germany under the Baltic Sea. And it includes one pipeline that runs from Wyborg, the Russia's northwest border, to Finland, and that's where the two Nord Stream pipelines travel through Ust-Luga to northern Estonia. Both pipelines lead down into the German state of Mecklenburg and northeast Germany. When they suspended the pipeline 2, as retribution, Russian limited gas delivery to Germany, basic Nord Stream 1 using the Baltic Sea pipeline. Everybody's alleging it was technical issues and delayed by Siemens, which is a Munich-based, Germany-based automation business. Then this month, first of the month, Russia cut off all gas from Pipeline 1 and said it was undergoing the annual summer maintenance. And now Germany's trying to go haywire, trying to figure out how they're going to take care of their folks for their winter. So the German governor has actually created a gas rationing plan, according to our sources. There's a significant gas shortage this winter. Germany's energy has already identified priority locations to access power, and the regulator emphasizes cutbacks in industry would come first. The biggest employers currently in Germany is a company called BASF, and they are probably one of the biggest chemical corporations probably in the world when we took a look at it. And they're already on thin ice, just trying to keep the plant open. They employ 39,000 people. 39,000 people just in Germany. If the nation's steadily decreasing access to Russian gas, they can't keep the plant open. Well, one of the reasons they moved there was cheap and plentiful Russian gas supplies. But the current problem is so severe, if they shut down, it'd be not only a supply chain catastrophe, but basically a meltdown leading to potential civil unrest with 39,000 people out of work due to a policy regarding gas to power the manufacturing facility. So Germany decided early this week to try and negotiate with Qatar for liquid natural gas. And Qatar being up, after looking at an opportunity in the situation, placed terms and conditions that made the deal almost impossible for Germany to agree upon. And basically that failed for the substitute for Russian gas. And now it appears Germany has to come back, realize that the imposing sanctions on Russian gas may not be for their country. The backdrop is this gentleman by the name of Klaus Ernst pushing the government to talk to Moscow about completing and launching Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline. Says the country's got to do everything it can, federal government's got to do everything it can to keep the energy supplies coming, and they need to talk to Russia despite the war that violates international law, but they've got to figure it out. There's only a specific amount of time that they can do this. Mr. Ernst is a lawmaker, and he did criticize from an economy for trying to obtain sources from other than Russia. They can't make up the volume that they have. And just on a final note with that, he decides to also throw in it's better late than never, instead of pushing U.S. propaganda of defeating Russia. Maybe they shouldn't bite off more than they can chew. So interesting philosophy, a little bit of backpedaling by that lawmaker, but that dependency on that fuel, I don't know where that was not taken into consideration. When we look to today, as many of us already know, Boris Johnson did step down as Prime Minister of England. Our next Prime Minister is yet unnamed at this time, and I think they're waiting for October elections. Coming back into Ukraine, and the hotspot for the fighting is the village of Sprina, which is under Russian control. Here's the kind of unusual piece, as hot as they made this. It's an unusual location because there are no roads connecting Sprina to Bakhmut. There's nothing there that we can see but fields, farms, lakes, nothing of real value. There isn't even roads there. We don't know there's no obvious value. What we think it may be tied to is Mr. Putin indicating he'd like his troops to rest and reset for the next assault. So by taking this random piece with nothing in front of it, very little to defend, it may be what they're using for the opportunity just to rest up those troops. Great deal of shelling to the west of Sprina, due south, to the east of Bakhmut. Still a ton of shelling, really a hot spot with these old missiles that the Russians keep sending, and a great deal of armored equipment. Russia before the war had like 7,000 missiles and strategic rockets that could fly like 5,500 kilometers. Now we see they're not using these precise rockets, but they're using the old Soviet-made HA-32s and the Hi-22 missiles. And they're firing them from these strategic bombers. Sadly, the bomber may be strategic, but the weapons aren't. So that's how, as we talked about before, the loss of civilian lives. Deputy of the Belarusian General Command, General Major Ruslan Korsagin. Again, this is Belarus border with Ukraine. It's north of Kyiv, almost due north, with 3,000 to 5,000 troops on that border. Ruslan Korsagin, the Belarusians could intervene with Poland. He said it could be a response for provocations on the western side of the Belarusian border. Poland has a very developed military, and it is a NATO state. And Russia has outdated forces with around 35,000 soldiers. They may also go to mobilization and hire 30,000 people if they could find them, but probably not. We have not heard from the Wagner group in some time, and don't know if they have been injured so greatly in their plans and assaults and leadership that they have taken a back seat or need to regroup. But again, a little bit different. Today also marked the arrival on Snake Island by Ukraine troops who came by helicopter to plant and fly the Ukraine flag on that island. We doubt that Ukraine troops will be left on the island, as it's certainly a target for Russian missiles to take the island back and leave the island again back and forth. But I think Ukraine, from what we're getting from General Staff information, basically it's been destroyed. Still 43 acres, but by not occupying it by other than a flag state, it remains neutral to the devastation of everything that's already taken place here. Some of the images that we've seen are really dramatic. as far as the damage that was done on the property. It's just very different to see, but again, by leaving it neutral, Ukraine claims the victory. The other thing that we have that's very current today is we do something that's called harmless reporting of attacks. These are attacks that are made on properties that no human life was lost. Through June 28th, Ukraine was able to target 11 Russian ammo depots. As of today, with the HIMARS, that number is now 21 locations, with 4 more HIMARS expected in, and from Western sources. Once again, these are mounted on trucks. They carry those container of 6 guided precision rockets that can travel 70 kilometers. The interesting thing with these that we like is they're made by Lockheed Martin, and they're known as a shoot and scoot. And they call them a shoot and scoot because they highly mobile system. They can fire and drive away and reduce the chances of being targeted by the enemy. And no different than some of the other weapons we've seen, which is shoulder mounted or ground mounted. We've seen those previously. Both of those. The U.S. on Friday, this past Friday, July 1st, indicated, as we spoke of, they're going to provide Ukraine with $820 million in new military aid, including new surface-to-air missile systems, counter-artillery radar, to respond to Russia's reliance on long-range strikes in the war. And then, kind of a nice piece, Turkey has been selling these Bakhtar drones to Ukraine or Poland, and they end up in Poland, and they've been used successfully. There was some public source fund gathering we spoke of, and that money was to be used to buy drones. Turkey decided to donate a drone, and that funding was used for artillery and to provide munitions for that Bakhtar drone. Very, very, very fine thing for them to do. And we're ready for the softballs.
Okay, so I've got some good ones. As I've been sitting here considering my options, just some options. The first question I have, very serious. Does Snake Island have a ceremony involving a snake similar to Pennsylvania's Puxatawney Phil? That's the question. Go for it.
They do, but they think it may have been cooked off by either Russian or Ukraine armor. Yeah. So we're not sure if it poked its head out this year to decide who got to keep the island.
Perfect. Next tough question, very difficult. How many super yachts are equivalent in worth to the cost of Alaska? What is the amount there? How many super yachts do we need to buy Alaska?
One, and it's just Putin's, because once we take Putin's, and I think we may already have, these things go all the way up to
that was a good answer.
20, 30 million,
Yeah, that was a good answer.
As long as we get Putin's, right?
Yeah.
The most expensive luxury lot right now is like $12 billion. Wow. Okay, you get to launch your helicopter from it only if you're landing in Alaska. Okay, so it's maybe we have it. I can't be sure. That's how they define their wealth and success. Is who's got the bigger boat? I don't know. I know a guy with a lot of boats. I know a guy with a lot of aluminum boats, like hooked into these boats that are in the 60s. I watched the video he put up. The guy's wiring it for him. It's pretty interesting, but I don't think that's one of these that you're asking me about.
No, he's got a superstructure made out of, I think, aluminum on his, and then basically the hull, I think, might be steel because it's so massive. But I'll have to look at it now. A fastball question: the midterm elections you know, people always tell me, why would something happen to America? Why would something happen to this or that? And it's because America defines the outcome of the rest of the world. The midterm elections define the outcome of things happening around the world. How will things change or shape up as a result of November coming around the corner? And how will that affect the disabled with price changes and modifications to their ability to buy things?
So, and it's a great question. And depending on, you know, we're seeing some of the primaries where some unusual folks are coming into positions of that'll get them on the ballot. Just reading earlier today, Texas had somebody run on a Republican ticket that was very interesting, and it's the first time in the state of Texas that occurred. And when we look from the shop's point of view here, we try to maintain neutrality in politics, but ultimately what does come out of the shops is the ability to take a look at inflation. Inflation isn't just a raise, and I apologize if you've covered this. Inflation is not just a raise in Social Security benefits or other disability benefits. It's the raise in inflationary numbers is to allow you to have the same purchasing power and to maintain whatever quality of life you've had previously, if we're reading this right. What we'd like to think that gasoline returns to a dollar amount that is affordable for all Americans. We'd like to think that going to the grocery store is something you have to decide between putting gas in the car, between putting enough fuel in the car or however your transportation model is, or paying the rent to make sure there's food for you and your family. And we'd like to think that with the midterm elections that this is recoverable. For as quickly as it devolved, we'd like to think it's going to take at least that long to return. Some of the numbers that we're seeing forecasted for those on Social Security adjustments, we're seeing double digits for next year based on current models, and it's alarming. It doesn't allow you to become financially stronger. You have to wait until next year. It allows you to figure out how to survive. What we're really hoping is some common sense comes into our elected officials. And the key here is an elected official is somebody who is there to represent best interest of the constituents. One of the things that I've shared personally, I'll say it anyway, your elected officials represent your best interest. And if they're not, we need to identify those who are. And I think that's bigger than name recognition. I think it's better than throwing stones from one side of the fence to another. At the end of the day, it's about your representation and what's in the best interest of you, your family, your community, your state, and your nation. And I'd personally like to see it return to a balance that talks about the best interest of America. And I don't know when that's coming. We would like to think that the midterm elections will turn that page, that we find balance again, and that some of the comments that we hear and things that we hear that are so knee-jerk reaction, that we put faith back in our Constitution, in our Bill of Rights, and our rights as people, and for what you do, Walter, that I think is why we are so engaged with what you have to do weekly by being on this on your channel. and then inviting us on. You're here to find out how it works. How do we make it better for those who are fighting for what they've paid into for years, or need the services of Social Security as it evolved. And these are very important areas. Our groups and our shops stand strong. Look, anytime you get 100 people together, can we find somebody who, it's not hard to find 10 to 15, 18% who either have a family member who's disabled, who needs assistance, whether it's a parent, a child, a spouse, a neighbor. It's not hard. It's all here. But ultimately what we're looking for is balance. We shouldn't have to fight that hard. Things that are products that we've purchased, your product that we purchased, and it's mandated. I believe that what you do is important because a lot of people in judicial positions, and I'm not pointing out any administrative law judge or anybody like that, but there are those who don't understand. And if they do, they get tired and they get frustrated and they don't want to hear it anymore. They need to hear it, or they need to step aside and let somebody else hear it. Because we have a lot of people that you deal with that upon our review that have needs, that have genuine concerns, that realistically need to be qualified for those disability benefits. And we're hoping midterms will bring balance back. We'll bring balance back to our nation and to our communities, into process, into the process, including the Social Security process that affects so many people, so many levels.
That's excellent, good sir. I agree that there's going to be a big change, and I hope that people's rights become the forefront of that change. I do not know what they're going to do, but I know this: they are faced with financial problems. Social Security, retirement benefits, that's a big thing on the tongues of a lot of people right now. But inherent with that, the government is not in a good financial place. So, to what degree a change will occur will be largely based on the purse strings. And, the other thing that bothers me about this situation is that the politicians will trade bills. So let's say that there's a good SSI bill or a good SSDI bill or a retirement bill. And what they'll do is they'll just take the bill, update it for the next year, give it to another politician among the same party, and then have that politician basically promote it. And they try to capture as many states promoting it over a period of time until it finally goes through. Like the big one, the new one for Social Security retirement benefits, basically, they gave it to Bernie and they said, Bernie, go take this and sell it as something brand new. And they did, to some degree, sell it as brand new. And Bernie went out there and played the game and sold it. And so what concerns me is that I think the American people don't really realize the game that's going on among the senators and the House reps. And the problem inherent with that is that until people know how to write a bill, how to promote a bill, how to pass a bill, how to change the wording in a bill, modify it, update it, integrate it, etc., until they understand how these committees work, how bills can be rah, 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 and then dead, and then just kill it. It goes to that committee and it dies there. Until they understand how this stuff works, I don't feel like we're going to really get the change we deserve, because many of us haven't made the investment into learning how it works. And then when I do the search on how it works, there's no fun way to learn about it. So I have to get working on that and get it done. I've just been, so over. But, like the SSI, Restoration Act, stuff like that, the Social Security 2100 Act, which was updated, and Bernie got the new one. The big problem I see is that there's a lot of great ideas out there on the blogs, a lot of great ideas of people who would like something to be essentially, figured into the system. But it doesn't seem like the politicians are searching for answers. They're more just taking whatever the loudest screaming person is and then jumping on the bandwagon to get more votes. And maybe that's just how the system works. But at the end of the day, we're losing. We're losing to other countries when it comes to new ideas and innovations. And, we used to be like Silicon Valley and nothing could touch that. And wow, but we're slowly eroding. China keeps eroding our space race capabilities of getting to Mars, getting to other planets and all those things. Not that that's a bad thing. You know, we want humans to be able to get out there. But I feel like across the board, people are losing more and more freedoms. And they base that off of the identity of catering the system more to be helpful to the people. And what they're doing is they restrict a little bit here, they restrict a little bit there, they carve out a caveat to allow this to happen for this group of people, but not that group of people. And I mean, I get it. They're HOAing the law. They're taking constitutional law and they're HOAing it to try and just make it work and fit. But every time I look at this, we end up with less rights. The freedoms just slowly dry up, kind of like a grape turning into a raisin. And you got a little bit of people there puckering up, just like a raisin would, as to the way it was back in the day. You know, it's like we're trading technology and modern government for basic fundamental, you know, constitutional rights. And we do that knowing that, well, we don't have to milk the cow, but there's the gallon of milk. I don't know. I don't know how the midterms are going to affect it, but I think you're right. It is going to take exactly one super yacht to to deal with the cost of Alaska. That was brilliant, by the way. I sat back, I was like, holy cow. Because I was expecting, like, what do you need? Like, you know, how many, what do you need? Like 50 of them? But no, that's right. If you get that one super yacht that's north of Russia, like, it's over. Like, that's the thing. He loves that thing. That's his baby. That's his little Chinook, you know? Yeah. So.
And it is. But Walter, coming back to voting, it is hard to track a bill. It's incredibly hard to track a bill. And you can see how far along that bill has traveled once you figure out the process and why it dies. And I call it kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
Okay. I can get enough votes where I can walk out and I'm not talking about myself, just tracking United States of America bills that have been sponsored for different reasons related to the industry. But what happens? It starts out really good, and then you get somebody like, I'll say Bernie Sanders, just because you use his name, who stands up and says, I sponsored this bill. He's not telling you that it got killed in committee. He's only telling you he sponsored it, and I believe in doing what's right for those who need disability benefits. And I believe that, you know, and they can sell all this because it's written in a bill, and somebody comes back and changes, like you said, 2 words, and it rolls over to the next United States Congress for consideration and gets to a different committee because they want to take it a different way, right? And it just never moves. I believe motivating your listeners, people you come in contact with, to do some reading on who they're voting for.
Yeah.
So if it's John Smith, well, I don't know if John Smith is from which party, but what's John Smith's position? Or contact your congressman, contact your senator, contact your House of Representatives, and the candidates who are running with them or against them, and find out which positions best represent the interests of you, your family, your community, and your country. And it matters, because if we don't take it to the polls and we vote just on John Smith's name, we get John Smith doing the same thing over and over again. Look, an elected official works for us in the United States and other countries. The only way they get there is us electing them to those positions. And if we continue to use name recognition, or we go, my vote doesn't matter, it does matter. I'd like to see you consider a groundswell of reminding people to make sure they're currently registered to vote wherever they live. Just make sure you're registered, whatever state that is. Okay, make sure you're registered to vote. Understand when the primaries are. Understand when you can vote. If you need assistance, there's lots of people out there, from what I understand, in the United States that will help transport you to the polls. They don't want you to vote, they'll transport you there. If that's true, we can make some change in the midterms. Because some of the folks that I know who have family in the United States are like, Why are you voting for that guy? Oh, because I know his name. How many times has he been elected? 13.
Yep.
Can you tell me one thing that guy's done? No, but I just know his name. Oh, okay. You might want to consider doing some reading to see what he's really doing other than the day after the election, start positioning himself to get reelected. Probably listed my personal thoughts too much this evening, and I apologize to anybody
that's good.
that's offended by it, but maybe 2 yachts. Maybe we can find his second yacht for Alaska. But at the end of the day, it's just something that as we move along and the concerns we have for our NATO partners, the concerns we have for the economy, and just recently palladium came up again, and we know that's vital in production of microchips, as well as neon gas is also a large component. And both those items, 50% of the world's palladium and neon gas come from Ukraine and Russia. And if things continue the way they are, it's just a matter of time before we run out of microchips. We talk about cars and everything from medical equipment to microchips that might run a motorized wheelchair for somebody. I just hate to see that happen for somebody disabled, or a bus that they're counting on for transit that has the lift that gets them to the doctor that they need to get to at either the VA or through the Social Security benefits. But the bus can't operate. It doesn't have the parts it needs. It's well for everybody. So again, thank you, Walter, for having us. I hope we've. I got a feeling you got one more. Hold on.
No. So
I got a feeling.
At this point, I'm on steak and shake duty. We hit 10:03. Good sir, thank you so much for coming on the show. I always love doing these updates because they're absolutely crucial to people understanding world events in the sense of what's going to affect their fixed benefits, fixed income benefits. Let's do this. Still, I'm open. Figure out a good name. Figure out a good name for a channel. I'm all open for it. I will catch you later, good sir. You have a wonderful, wonderful night, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
On behalf of everybody here, we thank you, and everyone have the best week you can, and stay safe.
Perfect. Thank you, good sir. All right, guys. So that's basically the end of the major show. And the bottom line is we always do it a little bit like this. We do the intro, which is like the main banner. Then we do questions for anybody that wants to call in. A lot of them seem to have attorneys, but then it falls on me to figure it out. And then we go to basically an update. That's the big show. That's the big Thursday event. I want to thank all the people who came on the show to basically go live. Please remember to like. Please remember to subscribe. And then the big thing that always helps me out immensely, the thing that really, really helps me is leaving the 5-star reviews. I really heavily appreciate those particular things. That's the little thing right there, the little mini URL. You can click that, takes you right to the 5-star URL for Google, which I appreciate immensely. I will catch you guys later. You have a wonderful night. Thank you to all the people who donated. Real quick summary of those people who donated. There's no way for me to actually click and figure it out. So anyways, to those people who donated, super appreciate it. Have a wonderful night. I'm going to Steak and Shake. I will catch you later. Thanks so much. All right. Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.